Hi there everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the first of our 2020 What's New and What's Next with Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops. Today we'll walk you through some of the key updates, enhancements, and essentially everything that's new from a Citrix virtualization perspective. Now we are expecting these updates to take around 40 minutes of the allocated time today, and we will be recording this session and make those slides available after the event. I do want to call out though that if you have questions throughout the presentation, please do feel free to ask them in the Q&A chat window on your screen to the bottom right, and we will do our best to answer them today at the end of the presentation because we have actually allocated time to do so. If for some reason we're unable to answer your question today, we'll be sure to follow up with you directly once the presentation is complete. And on that note, I'll hand over to our presenters today to kick things off. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for bearing with us for this during that brief interruption. Hopefully, we'll make up for it with the content that we're going to provide to you right now. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and step in. My name is Paul Carley. I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager for our Desktops and Apps group, and with me today is a good friend, Nitin Sharma. Nitin, you want to introduce yourself if you haven't already?
Yep, introduce myself again. Nitin Sharma, Senior Product Marketing Manager for the Desktops and App groups, working alongside Paul.
Great, thanks, Nitin. So moving forward, just to kind of give you an agenda of what it looks like, what we're going to talk about today, where we're going. First, we're going to talk about long-term service release. It's now available since the last time we've had this conference call, or this webinar, and Nitin will go into that a little bit. Then we'll talk about what's new and what's upcoming with our new Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops 2003 release that's upcoming, so you'll be aware of what's that's coming down the pipe. We'll talk about our new app protection policies and some secure browser updates. We'll cover Windows Virtual Desktop and just kind of talk about some of the Citrix value add there. We'll discuss Microsoft Teams and how we're now supporting that. We're excited about that. And then lastly, we'll finish up with some updates coming with our new Desktops as a service product, Citrix Managed Desktops. So with that, I'm going to continue on here. Just a quick word from our lawyers that some of the content you'll see here is not officially shipped yet. So we just kind of want to make you aware that some of those things that haven't shipped yet, we're going to, those things could change by the time we get to release. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. And also, as we're getting started, we wanted to comment regarding the latest current events. The health and safety of our customers and our partners and communities remains our top priority. We are working tirelessly to do everything we can to assist our customers to maintain a safe, secure, and uninterrupted operation through this global challenge. Citrix has new business continuity support content available on our website at citrix.com to help you with your ongoing plans. Please don't hesitate to reach out to your Citrix representatives for any questions or assistance. And regarding that, we do have a lot of customers asking questions about business continuity and what they can do today. One thing we just wanted to mention was, right off the bat, if you're a current advanced or premium Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops customer, you already have access to Remote PC, which is basically a simple way to remotely log into a physical machine from practically anywhere on any device. This is a great way for you to easily provide remote access to your workers who have to be remote during this time. And we have a lot of great details on architecture and deployment in our Citrix Tech Zone. We invite you to check that out. And again, this is a service that if you're a current Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop customer, you should have access to that. So if you have any questions on that or want more information, we recommend visiting the Citrix Tech Zone, or you can contact your local Citrix representative, and we will be happy to work with you on what your options are there and how we can help you with that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nitin to talk about our long-term service release. Go ahead, Nitin.
Thanks, Paul. We actually, in the last quarter, between the last time we did a What's New webinar and this current one, the last one we actually talked about the lead up to the long-term service release, our plans on the 1912 release that came out in December. So what I wanted to kind of use on this time is to kind of revisit a little bit of what was in that LTSR to kind of like just highlight the fact of some of those customers that are on the previous LTSR version, what to expect. Oh, let me see. I sound. Do I sound okay? It looks like I got a message that maybe I sound choppy.
Yeah, you sound a little choppy. Let's see if it continues to be an issue, and then we can always come back.
Okay. What I could do, let me just switch over. Actually, let me see if I can go through this section. I'll switch over to dialing in. Do I sound fine, or is it still choppy?
It's a little choppy, so maybe, yeah, get through your first section, and then maybe you can dial in again.
Okay. So going with the next slide, Paul, just to kind of revisit what the LTSR and actually our release strategy is. So we have 3 release strategies. We have a cloud service release, we have current release, and then our long-term service release. So our cloud service release typically has, we do it monthly, and it has all of the greatest features and enhancements, and it's usually available for our cloud customers. If that means if you're on Workspace service or app and desktop virtualization service. And then from there, we do a quarterly release called a current release, and that's for our particular customers that are looking for the on-prem VDA. And then from there, we have our long-term service release, which bundles all of the releases from the current release in between the 2 long-term service releases. So for this purpose, we last released 7.15 LTSR. So this 19.12 LTSR features all of what's released since 7.15, all bundled into that 19.12 VDA. The next slide. So just to kind of highlight some of the things that we have, if you notice, the LTSR 19.12 brings new OS support updates, both on platform and VDA. So you notice that for the VDA image, we're now supporting a wide range of platforms from Windows 10 through Server 2019. Importantly for existing customers, Win 7 and 8.1 are still supported with the new LTSR. But as those are getting close to end of support, we'll be asking them to use, the 7.15 VDA package. So the key point here is I wanted to say is like if you guys are not on the latest LTSR, to get started and hop on that today. Next slide. So this is just to kind of enhance, just to kind of summarize some of the things that we released within 19.12. As I mentioned, this features all of the current release updates that we featured before the release of the long-term of the 19.12 LTSR. Again, this is not all inclusive. I just wanted to highlight some of the key things here, like optimization for Microsoft Teams, which I'll get a little bit more details in and later on in this presentation. And then we also made some enhancements to the end user experience through our HDX improvements. We've also applied some new security enhancements like app protection policies, which we have a dedicated section on this one in the presentation today. Another thing I wanted to highlight is the fact that customers that are now looking at Linux workloads or are presenting virtualized Linux apps and desktops, we made a lot of significant strides for Linux VDAs that are now bundled within this long-term service release. And next slide. So key thing here, we also are, this is the first Workspace App LTSR since we transitioned from Citrix Receiver. So we're excited for customers to migrate from Citrix Receiver 4.9 LTSR to this release. So there's a number of quality fixes and features that have gone into this since the last Citrix Receiver LTSR. So we've combined some of the best of those features from 4.9 to now, including them and include them in this release. So you can see some of those right now. So our customers that that move from Workspace App LTSR for predictability and ease of maintenance, this particular release and client's a great option for customers who are looking at virtual app and desktop LTSR. And then next slide.
Okay. Cool. And now I'm going to go ahead and discuss a few key updates that you should be aware of with the rollout of Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops and Desktop Service coming in the new 2003 release. Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops upcoming cloud release will soon add support for VMware Cloud on AWS in environments using Citrix Cloud. With a single management tool, Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service will allow you to easily manage Citrix workloads to extend your virtual apps and desktops in vSphere as needed between either on-premise deployments or within VMware-based clouds. This new feature also, for the first time, enables Citrix provisioning services in a cloud environment. Citrix shows our continued leadership and commitment to customer choice and to facilitate a seamless deployment of enterprise workloads in any chosen hybrid cloud architecture. From our Compliance Center, data breach activities on the rise, organizations are looking for cloud compliance to assure them that Citrix follows strict guidelines for protecting customer data. With that, Citrix is announcing Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service has reached SOC 2 Type 2 certification and ISO 27001 certification. SOC 2 is specifically designed for service providers storing customer data in the cloud. That means SOC 2 applies to nearly every SaaS company, as well as any company that uses cloud to store its customers' information. Companies that achieve SOC 2 Type 2 certification have proven its system is designed to keep its clients' sensitive data secure. ISO 27001, we achieved that certification, and that is Citrix is following information security best practices and delivers an independent expert assessment that your data is adequately protected. Also, we received 508 compliance for the new 1912 version of LTSR. This carries on the compliance from the previous 7.15 LTSR. 508 compliance is a part of federal law and mandating that all electronic and information technology developed, procured, maintained, or used by the federal government to be accessible to people with disabilities. Citrix is also enhancing Citrix Scout by adding data mask option. When Scout is launched in the data masking mode, new options are presented to the admin to allow masking sensitive data in the Scout bundle, things like log files, environment information, etc., before uploading them to Citrix. This is very exciting news for organizations who are continuously looking for new ways to secure their information as it's being shared to ensure data security in your organization. One important note, Citrix recognizes that customers are quickly moving workloads to the cloud, and we need to ensure that our integration with public cloud services is keeping pace and providing the best service for our customers. With the release of current release 2003, Citrix will deprecate the ability to provision cloud-hosted workloads in our on-prem version of Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops. Customers that have the need to run workloads in the cloud and on-prem have the option of moving to our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops service, or continue to leverage the on-prem service with 1912 LTSR for the next 5 years, with the option to extend that service for an additional 5 years. If you're a customer affected by this change, we recommend that you reach out to your Citrix representative to discuss the best option for moving forward with this business change. And I'll move it back over to Nitin to go through app protection policies and secure browser updates.
Thanks, Paul. So we made some enhancements to our security aspects of our workspaces, or workspace solutions, specifically in app and desktop. Again, the goal of this is to give IT admins and Citrix admins the tools to be able to ensure that they have security and control over how their end users are accessing Citrix sessions without necessarily impacting their productivity. And next slide, Paul. So one of the first things that we've introduced over the past few months is actually a solution called application protection policies. So just from a very simplistic way of saying this is basically going to ensure that if there's an end user that is using a device that has malware installed on it, something like a keylogger or screen capture or screen scraper software, what happens is what this would be, that they're accessing a Citrix session, the hacker or the threat actor won't be able to get information when that user is launching, like let's say, for example, a sensitive CRM software that features customer data. Basically, if the user is typing in there, the only thing that gets sent back is a scrambled, like scrambled text, and from a from a screen scraper side of it, they're just going to get back a blank gray screen. So this actually is important to note, applies for both Windows apps and desktops, Linux, as well as web browsing and web and SaaS. It's important to note this is available for all Citrix customers that they can purchase as an additional add-on to their existing licenses. You just want to contact your partner or Citrix account manager to discuss how that can be part of your infrastructure. Next slide. And we made some enhancements to our secure browser service. Again, this is our web isolation solution that features a Chromium browser. It's delivered from Citrix Cloud that's separated from the endpoint as well as your infrastructure. A couple of key things here. I just want to highlight, these are enhancements that were requested by our customers that we've went ahead and implemented. They were released in the past couple months. One of the key things is in-session URL filtering, which I have a little quick video for. Shared passcode, URL perimeter passing, and then hostname tracking, which I can show in the next couple slides. Next slide. So this is a video. Hopefully this plays pretty seamless on your side. So this is an example of a user accessing and launching a locally installed browser. So they're going to Google, but let's say they go to LinkedIn and you want to protect that social media site from, it could be like malware or something on these type of pages. So if you notice, they've opened it up in their secure browser session seamlessly. End user doesn't really even notice that this happened. And then because it's going through a gateway proxy, you can still apply, whitelisting and blacklisting of websites. So they're going to Facebook now. If you notice, it just launches a containerized Chromium browser within that Firefox browser. And again, there's still limitations on how far and where they can go. So they go to like a gambling website, it'll go ahead and block them from going to that site. So the goal of this is to kind of, you can configure this locally installed browser to open up pages within a Chromium browser, within an embedded browser, but seamlessly so the end user doesn't know that what's going on in the background. Hostname tracking. So this is kind of a view of a dashboard from a Citrix administrator side of things. You can actually determine and see exactly the usernames as well as the host name that they were trying to access and whether access was allowed or denied. Next slide.
Thanks, Hinton. Okay, next we're going to talk a little bit and give an update on Windows Virtual Desktop. We've seen a great positive growth in the arrival of this Microsoft service and the ability to help customers begin their journey in the cloud. For those that aren't familiar, Windows Virtual Desktop is a new entitlement that enables IT to deliver Windows 10 multi-session experience from the Azure cloud. There has been some people out there saying that Windows Virtual Desktop is considered a competitor to Citrix, but we kind of here just want to clear that up and let people know that Citrix is working very closely side by side with Microsoft in the development of Windows Virtual Desktop from the start, which greatly gives Citrix the ability to offer a day one support for Windows Virtual Desktop. Microsoft considers Citrix a key launch partner, and it's reflected actually in the Windows Virtual Desktop website from day one. We are one of the only current solutions on the market today that enables hybrid management of virtual apps and desktops, workloads in Azure, and be able to leverage your on-prem data centers from one convenient management tool. And in fact, we aren't just a great way to manage the hybrid services for on-prem and in cloud. We actually offer several value-added services to Windows Virtual Desktop to enable IT to offer the most robust, flexible solution to your organization. With Citrix, you get our great HDX technology, which allows you to deliver a high-definition user experience to any device and provides optimal multimedia performance. Security and analytics we offer to give administrators deep visibility into user behavior, as well as several other built-in tools to make your deployment as simple or robust as needed. If you're looking to deploy Windows Virtual Desktop as part of your overall desktop management solution, we invite you to try it with Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops and see the difference for yourself. So again, these are just a few of the several value-added features that Citrix provides with Windows Virtual Desktop. We definitely recommend, if you are looking at starting to try Windows Virtual Desktop or test it, definitely we recommend using it in the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service environment. We feel like it's a great experience that is unmatched by anyone else. And then back over to you, Nitin, for Teams.
Cool. All right, Paul, if you can start with the next slide. So we actually have a long history of working with Microsoft on optimizing unified communication tools. For existing Citrix customers, you may be aware of the fact that we've optimized various, I guess the top thing that can come to mind is how we optimize Skype for Business, which today has over 800,000 active users globally daily. So Microsoft Teams itself is actually, they're transitioning over to, it's now one of their fastest growing applications. So from there, we've actually had a large demand from our existing Citrix customers on Teams optimization for their virtual environments. Go to the next slide. So similar to what we did with Skype for Business, we are actually optimizing Microsoft Teams in a similar way. We're offloading CPU and RAM usage to the end user's endpoint instead of the backend virtual machine. So this frees up a lot of resources on the backend data center, so you have enhanced server scalability. But we also ensure that even though it's coming through a virtualized session, they're getting that optimized HDX experience that they're used to. The reason we got this, we got a large demand from our customers that are on Office 365, so M365, so they're actually already entitled to this. So they wanted to be able to, kind of deliver a solution, but with the exact and enhanced Citrix policy controls that they can apply over Microsoft Teams to their end users. So this ensures actually they get centralized control and also the ability to enhance security aspects when their users are communicating. Like you can now securely store chat logs, as for an example. And it's kind of a quick update on that one. This is a part of the LTSR 1912 release. There's a couple of dedicated webinars that we have on our events channel, and I will probably drop a little link in there that kind of goes a little bit more comprehensively into what this optimization looks like.
Okay, on to the next. We're going to do an update on our Citrix Managed Desktops, which is our desktops as a service solution you may be familiar with, something we recently launched here within the last 6 months. It actually we created this service to be a turnkey service that gives you the ability to deliver apps and desktops in the simplest, fastest way through Azure. And we make it easy for you to use and deliver them and just pay for it as you go. And we are continuing to add features since we've rolled this service out, and we hope to make it continue to make it more robust and an even better experience for customers. Let's take a look at some of those features now. Go forward. Hello. Okay, sorry about that. So one of the first new exciting things that we're adding is now Citrix SD-WAN supports Citrix Managed Desktops. We announced recently that SD-WAN was in tech preview to support Citrix Managed Desktops, and now we're excited to announce that Citrix Managed Desktops fully supports Citrix SD-WAN. For customers looking to ensure that they have a great user experience, as well as an always-on connectivity, definitely consider Citrix SD-WAN as something that you should consider as part of your deployment. Next, we'd like to just talk about a few of the new features. As I mentioned before, we're continually add features and services to this service in order to continually help it to grow and make it even stronger. The first thing here is we show we are offering things like desktop backups. One of our biggest customer requests has been having the ability to automatically back up persistent desktops. Now we're excited to announce that we're in tech preview on that, so that's up and running. We're enhancing our usage reports. We're providing trending views on usage licenses, on licensing and usage, to help you better understand where your usage and where your who's using your services and how often. We're also enhancing vertical load balancing, and what that enables you to do is to pack more sessions on a single multi-session VM before powering on a new VM instance. So you're gonna maximize your usage there and help keep your costs at a minimum when it comes to virtual machines on Azure in that instance. We're also excited to offer a new Win10 multi-session and Office 365 base image. That image is now available in the Citrix Managed Desktops management console. It's able for customers who have the Win10 multi-session entitlement can go ahead and use that base image to deploy to their users. It makes it a lot easier. That was another customer request that we updated. And then also some other continuing enhancements. We now support Red Hat and Linux through our BYO Azure service. And if you're not familiar, we do now offer a bring your own Azure. So if you have an Azure subscription that you'd prefer to use with our services, you can plug that right in, and that helps you leverage things like Linux VDAs, and as well as AMD GPU VMs. So if you have some graphical workloads that need to be leveraged through and deployed, now you have the capability of doing them through through one with an AMD processor, which can definitely save you some money when talking about graphical workloads. So again, a lot of enhancements here that we're doing to help grow that business, and we're seeing we're seeing it take off with a lot of customers who definitely are interested in the service today, especially for customers that are looking for temporary workloads or to deploy temporary desktops or applications for a limited time. We're seeing that this is a great service that offers a monthly no commit, so we're able to customers are able to deploy Windows 10 desktops or apps to their workers for whatever time they need to, and then break them down as they're done with them and only pay for what they use. So definitely, if you're not familiar with that service, we recommend finding out more from us. Contact your Citrix representative for more details. And next, I just kind of want to reiterate, customers get confused about what kind of offerings that Citrix has, as far as there's many offerings today. We like to just kind of say we have offerings that match where you are in your digital workspace journey. So whether you're using something that you need just a simple way to deploy apps and desktops without needing a lot of management pieces to it, we offer things like Citrix Managed Desktops is a simple, easy way to deploy those virtual apps and desktops from the cloud. If you need something that's a little more flexible, that offers that hybrid type environment that we talked about earlier, to be able to do some advanced management, monitoring, provisioning, manage cloud workloads and data center workloads from one convenient location, we definitely recommend that it would be something that you would want to look at for Citrix virtual apps and desktops. And then thirdly, if you need a complete, comprehensive digital workspace experience, we offer our Citrix Workspace, which gives you all the bells and whistles you need to get your job done as far as desktop or application management today. So again, if you're interested in any of the, in deploying virtual apps and desktops, we recommend that you speak to one of our Citrix representatives, and based on your use cases, they can kind of recommend the right solution for you that's not either overkill or it's too underperforming for your needs. So we definitely recommend that you have that conversation today. And a couple of quick updates, just hot off the presses. We just announced this, that Citrix Synergy, in light of the current world events happening, Citrix has decided to transform this year's Synergy conference into a free multi-day virtual experience. We anticipate that will take place on May 19th, and we're excited about it, that we're going to make it free so that all customers can attend and learn more about Citrix. So we definitely want you to stay tuned on that. We have a blog that went out yesterday. That was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. That kind of goes into a little bit more details. If you're interested, you can go to citrix.com/blog to find out more details. But also on the Citrix Synergy website, you'll find additional information there. So we ask to stay tuned as we'll provide more information as we move closer to that May 19th date. And again, as I mentioned early in the beginning, if you missed it, we do have a lot of good information around around this business continuity messaging and some of the current events that are going on right now. Just so you're aware, we threw this up on our presentation here, so you have availability or awareness that we have some dedicated support and services information located on citrix.com. And we'll also have upcoming on March 25th a live Q&A session that will answer any of your questions regarding any kind of business continuity or Citrix in regards to that. So we definitely invite you to to consider those things and definitely check out what we have to offer. Again, our goal here is to be a help for our customers, and if there's anything we can do to help our customers get through this difficult situation, we want to make sure we're helping. So please reach out to us if you have any concerns how Citrix might be able to help you, rather than give generic statements or things like that around it. We invite you to contact our service and sales representatives so that we can better understand your situation and try and assist you to get that happening and make sure that you're safe and your workers are safe and secure. So with that, that's pretty much all the information we have at this time. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Louise and to see if we have any questions.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, we do have quite a handful of questions here in the Q&A. Just allow myself a moment to group those together into what makes most logical sense. Also want to encourage you, if you do have questions, please pop them into that chat window now. We have some time allocated to be able to ask the experts and put them on the spot for some answers. So, first question, we're using Citrix SD-WAN. Does optimizations for Teams integrate with it?
I take that. Yes, it does. It's actually, there is we do have a solutions brief on that. It's available on, I'll drop the link in the chat on where you can see how that works, but in tandem with publishing Teams through virtual apps and desktops, you have SD-WAN, it can actually further enhance and improve the communications between multiple parties.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nitin. Here's another one, Teams focused, but now breaking into a bit more LTSR. How do Teams updates work if customers on the LTSR release?
So the way the way that the nature of the LTSR release is just a single VDA. There's no real updates to it besides the CU updates. So just because of that, the Teams release that's within the 1912 LTSR is pretty static. However, when we're doing a regular Workspace app updates, the clients, they do feature, there will be some Teams enhancements built within that. Just to kind of, like basically, so if you're on an LTSR VDA and you're using a current release Windows app, you'll still get some updates to Teams as Microsoft releases regular updates for Microsoft Teams. I think they do it about quarterly as well. But even if you're on the LTSR of Teams, the LTSR VDA, and you're using Teams, it'll complete and execute probably about 90% of the use cases that most people are using for Teams within a virtual app or desktop.
Okay, great, thank you. While we're on the subject of LTSR, I'm just going to try and group a few of these together. Firstly, when will LTSR Workspace app be released?
I can take that. Or Paul, you can take that.
Go ahead, Nitin. You're on a roll.
So the LTSR Workspace app is releasing soon. It's going to be releasing with the upcoming 2003 VDA. So look out for that. When the 2003 goes live, you should expect to see the LTSR Workspace app coming.
Okay, great. We have this question actually come up a couple of times on the session here. Can we upgrade, or what is the recommended upgrade path from 7.15 LTSR to 19.12 LTSR? And I know that we have a lot of documentation on our Citrix docs page for that. Is there any way that we'd like to direct attendees to go learn more, or is there anything you'd like to say there, Nitin?
So yeah, you could do upgrades directly from 7.15 LTSR as long as you're current on your CU updates. There's an actual blog that is out there. There's also you could see it on our docs. I could send over to you, Luis, so you can kind of present it to the attendees on the call. I'll send it to you directly there. But yeah, there is the ability to upgrade from 7.15 to directly to 19.12.
Of course, thanks, Nitin, and I'll be sure to pass that out as a follow-up on the webinar today. And just one more, although this doesn't seem to be LTSR related, any update or ETA on Linux CWA support for Teams optimization?
So we do have a timeline on it. Right now we're focusing on Windows first, but the next update will be for, it's going to be Linux next, and then Mac OS after that, shortly after that. Wish I can give a more concrete timeline other than the fact that it's coming soon, but we are actively working on providing support for Linux Workspace app for Teams optimization.
This is great, and thanks everyone. Keep the questions coming in. It's great to have the opportunity to answer these live on the fly. Question to both of you, I'm not sure who might want to take this. How can we make use of app protection policies if we are a Citrix Cloud customer with on-premises storefront and gateway?
I'm at the Paul. I don't know if you know that more than I do, but I could follow up because
yeah.
I could work with the app protection PM on that.
Yeah, actually, the Workspace app protection policies works with Workspace app. You would have to move your storefront into Workspace app. There's a capability, or we have documentation on how to do that, but it is tied to the Workspace app itself. Once you have the Workspace app in place, then you can implement app protection policies there. So we do have some documentation. We can definitely get it over. Louise can hopefully get that customer's information. We can pass that along to everybody.
Absolutely. The information, not the customer information.
Yeah, of course.
Just setting the bar on the day. All right, on a lighter note, so I think now we're going to switch focus onto the Managed Desktops offering, and we have a few questions around that. One of which being, does Citrix Managed Desktops offer a month-to-month option?
Yeah, good question. Thank you for that. Yes, it does. We have something called a no-commit month-to-month service that allows you to leverage the service and pay as you go on a month-to-month basis. We definitely offer that, as well as term services if you're interested in that. A lot of customers like to try the service first by buying the month-to-month service, and then they can easily transition to a term service subscription if they prefer to do it that way. But yes, a lot of customers, especially with the current, in light of the current events going on right now, are starting to do that. They're starting to leverage that service on a month-to-month basis, so they have it ready to go in case they need workers to work from home. So yes, you can get that service on a month-to-month basis.
Great, and I think that ties into where I see some of the questions going now, certainly in light of current situations across the globe, and exactly to the resources on the screen right now. Customers are coming in with some questions around, are there any additional licenses that are required to use remote PC?
That's another good question. Thank you for that. Yeah, your license entitlements you have if you purchase or when you subscribe to Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, enable you to use them for remote PC. However, I would highly recommend that you contact your Citrix representative to confirm the amount of licenses you feel like you'll need to make that happen if you're going into a work from home type of situation for some of your workers. Just to ensure that you have enough licenses. We don't want you to be, have any challenges. We do have some pieces or some opportunities or some things in place to help you make sure that if you have an emergency that we can support you on that. But we highly recommend that, definitely reach out to your Citrix representative just to ensure that you have what you need to make sure that you're not stuck with any shortages of any type like that. And they can clarify your specific situation to make sure you have what you need, again, in case you need to move to that work from home type of situation for your workers.
Yeah, and staying on topic there, we've got customers really saying, we've had to spin up this kind of situation, as have many other organizations, of course, very quickly. Management asking for a lot of support in terms of custom reports, tracking usage, active users, disconnection, specific timing intervals. I guess the question really comes down to what can we provide, or what support can Citrix provide in helping understand what reports are available and how to kind of manage this situation from an admin perspective. And I think, to be honest, most of the resources will be via the link on the left-hand side of the screen that you see here today. This is just a screenshot of the very top of that page. There's actually very detailed and evolving, as I'm sure you know, evolving FAQs that are being developed on that page as well. And another question that I do see that's come through is around what documents or guides are available to help us with virtualizing our teams. And I just want to draw your attention to the middle column here where we look at end user adoption kits. So we're really focused on helping get users onboarded very quickly. We're actually working to develop even more content within these kits that can just be kind of disseminated across orgs very quickly. But I encourage you to go and view those and just take a look at the end user guides that we've developed, quick guides to getting started, and keep checking back because those are evolving literally by the day at the moment.
Good point. And I would just like to add that, we do have, besides this location, the Citrix Tech Zone and Citrix Docs offer a lot of good content. We have dedicated folks that are building content daily and adding to that and updating it as need be. So definitely check those out. There are free resources for you to get to have at your fingertips as you continue to move forward with your deployments.
Great. So I have a couple more questions geared around the kind of Citrix Managed Desktops really here. Can we set a limit on how many VDIs can be provisioned for new users on Citrix Managed Desktops? And where can we define the limit on how many desktops we use?
That's a great question. Actually, we've created the Citrix Managed Desktops service as the, not only most customers are feeling like, oh, that's just a small business type of application, but actually we developed it for large and small, from enterprise to small business, and we can deploy. It gives you a good volume of deployments you can make as far as desktops or applications to have available. And what the great thing about that service is it allows you to spin them up very quickly compared to some other options that are out there. We have that capability, and as far as scaling, it just depends on how many users you need. We can give you guidance. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you contact your Citrix representative, we can walk through specifics on based on your needs, what kind of, how to architecture that properly and scale it for you rather quickly. So we definitely invite you to do that, but we can get a robust number of users because it's built on the Azure cloud. We can do a number of, handle a number of different workloads and catalogs within that service, definitely. So I hope that answers it.
Feel free to ask us if there's additional questions on that one to the person that asked, then please feel free to follow up. Okay, moving on, we do have a few more to get through. Is Citrix Managed Desktops essentially with Microsoft WVD?
Yes, actually, it is built on WVD. As I mentioned earlier in the session, that we worked hand in hand with Microsoft on their WVD development. One of those products that came about from that relationship is the Citrix Managed Desktop service. The Citrix Managed Desktop is built on the Azure cloud, and it lets you deploy Windows Virtual Desktop VDAs in Azure very simply. It's one of the fastest, simplest ways to do it, but it also gives you a lot of different features and services that you normally wouldn't have if you were just doing Windows Virtual Desktop from Azure. So we invite you to definitely try it out. We have some great interactive videos on our Citrix.com website under citrix.com/DaaS that I invite you to look at. We can give you a full-on demo if that's something that you're interested in, or in some instances we can offer a trial as well. So definitely invite you to go to that website, check out the information, and if there's something that interests you regarding that service, we definitely can take the next steps with you and see if that's something that's right for your business.
Thanks, Paul. I have two questions very similar in nature, but it's around Win10 Multisession. Mm-hmm. So question one is Win10 Multisession available with virtual apps and desktops on Citrix Cloud?
The answer to that is yes. Windows Virtual Desktops is an entitlement of your Windows licensing, and Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service will enable you to deploy those in an Azure location. I just want to point out, and it's if you're not familiar so much with Windows Virtual Desktop, that is a service Microsoft requires that if you're deploying that as a Windows 10 instance, it must be deployed in Azure Cloud. It cannot be deployed in an on-prem data center or in other public clouds. So the great thing about Windows Virtual Desktop is it gives that hybrid type environment, so you can deploy Windows Virtual Desktop, Windows 10 multi-session services in an Azure location, in a region, and manage that right side by side with your on-prem RDS deployments and workloads and your on-prem data center. So that's the great thing about Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, is it gives you that one easy management console that lets you manage all those multiple locations, resource locations from one easy to manage management console.
And forgive me, this is very similar in nature, so it could essentially have been answered, but Win10 multi-session feature is available for all or limited to Azure only?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it, but it's Azure only. Yeah, correct. That's a Microsoft requirement. I shouldn't say limitation, it's a requirement that Microsoft's asked that it has to be done in the Azure cloud.
Great questions here. Thank you.
Agreed.
Okay, so switching over, and Nitin, I think this one may be for you, actually. When showing secure browser, there were actually options for authentication. So the question is, can secure browser allow for SSO? Or is there anything on the roadmap for this in the future?
The answer is yes, but it depends on how it's published. So if it's published via gateway service with enhanced security on, then the answer would be yes.
All right, thank you. With the introduction of Windows Virtual Desktop on Azure, how does Citrix Virtual Desktop on-premise service, would Citrix Virtual Desktop on-premise service still be effective?
I think I understand the question. Again, it goes back to Windows Virtual Desktop. The multi-session Windows 10 cannot be used as an on-prem workload. It has to be in the Microsoft Azure public cloud. That's how you leverage it. But again, with Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, you can manage that as a resource location side by side with your RDS or your Cal workloads, your VDA workloads in your data center. So you should have that capability to do both side by side. It's a great opportunity if you're looking at Windows Virtual Desktop and you want to start, deploying it or trying it and seeing if it works for you by just creating a resource location in Azure using simply using the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service and deploying it there and seeing how it's working for you and hopefully it is something that it's going to help your business going forward. But again, we give you that simplicity and ease of use, and I showed you before, previous in the meeting or in the presentation, how that we bring a lot of value add. I know a couple people say, why do I need Citrix when I have Windows Virtual Desktop? And the answer is we can give you all those enhanced features like I mentioned before. So we definitely suggest checking that out and seeing for yourself rather than just taking my word for it.
That's great. Thank you for going through such a comprehensive list of questions, and thanks to the audience for submitting them. It's always great when we have that kind of interactivity. Just want to reiterate that we will be following up with a recording and the slides from today's session. Once we've got those kind of packaged up, we'll of course send those out to you. If there are any follow-up questions that we weren't able to address today, or we said we would follow up with you separately, I just want to call out that I'm popping into the chat window now our email address, and I will personally make sure that we get back to you as soon as possible with that. So just to reiterate, that is customeradoption@citrix.com, and I just popped that into the chat window so that you'll be able to reach us if you do have questions afterwards. But expect the recording and the slides to be available within the next 24 hours. And I want to just say a huge thanks to Nitin and Paul and all of you for joining us today. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.